Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Andrew from Scots English Australia. IELTS speaking test worries a lot of students since you have to speak during about 15 or 20 minutes. The only way to get a high score is to have a detailed plan to practice and always be confident. Keep calm in the test. Today I will go over 12 tips that will help in the IELTS speaking test. How to practice speaking by yourself. Record, transcribe, and analyze. Here are some steps which you could follow when practicing the IELTS speaking test. Step 1. Choose a speaking test from one of the Cambridge books. Step 2. Record yourself answering one or all parts of the test. Listen to the recording and transcribe it. Write down everything that you said. Step 4. Analyze the script. How could your answers be improved? Step 5. Take some time to prepare better answers for the same questions. Step 6. Try the same questions again. Record yourself, transcribe, and analyze. Step 7. Repeat the process a few times until you're happy. IELTS Speaking Test Part 1. The first part of the IELTS speaking test lasts around 4 to 5 minutes. The examiner asks about 10 questions related to you, your daily life, and interests. Common topics are hobbies, family, friends, food, music, and others. Part 1 questions are supposed to be easy, and the examiner must get all of the questions in 5 minutes or less. That's about 30 seconds per question. If you try to give long answers, the examiner will interrupt you. My advice is to keep Part 1 answers very simple. For example, if the question is, do you prefer home-cooked food or food from restaurants? You can answer, I prefer home-cooked food because I think it's healthier and you know exactly what you're eating. I also enjoy cooking for family and friends. You don't need to say any more than this. Just answer the question with a full sentence, give a reason, and maybe add one extra piece of information. Then stop speaking. Stop with confidence and look at the examiner, ready for the next question. Speaking Part 2. Use the 1-minute preparation time well. Think about how you would answer the question in Vietnamese, then write down as many ideas as possible in English. 2. Give real examples. Say what you really think, talk about your real life, and give real examples. Examples are really important. Whenever you don't know what to say, give an example from your own experience. 3. Don't worry too much about grammar. You haven't got time to think about passives or conditionals. Focus on answering the question. Ideas and vocabulary are the important part here. It's okay to lie. It's usually easier to tell the truth. However, sometimes your only option is to make something up. Take this Part 2 question, for example. Describe a team project that you've worked on. If your job involves working in a team, this might be an easy question, but if you're still a student or you work alone, you might be stuck for ideas. You might need to invent something. Here's how you can adapt the question above. Talk about a project or piece of work that you did alone and pretend that other people were involved. Go back to your school days and talk about something you studied, pretending that it was a group project. Talk about an English lesson. Most English teachers put their students in groups from time to time. Speaking Part 3. Make it personal. For Part 3 of IELTS speaking, it really helps if you give personal examples. For example, number 1. Do you think it's important for people to have hobbies? Why? Yes, I think people need to have hobbies because we all need to do these things we enjoy in our spare time. In my case, I find that playing football once a week with some friends really helps me to relax, keep fit, and forget about work. I think it's the same for everyone. Example 2. Can hobbies have any negative effects? Well, yes. If you spend too much time in your hobby, it can affect other parts of your life. I remember that one of my friends spent most of his time at university playing computer games instead of studying. In the end, he failed most of his exams. For IELTS Speaking Part 3, give longer, more detailed answers. Keep asking yourself, why? And explain the alternatives. As an example question, do you think that school children should be encouraged to have their own ideas, or is it more important for them to learn what their teachers give them? An example answer could be, I think that we should definitely allow children to be creative and have their own ideas. Why? Children need to develop the ability to think for themselves and solve problems. Why? Because they are adults and will not always have someone to guide them or tell them what to do. Alternatives? If we don't allow children to have their own ideas, they will be less successful in the adult world. They will be too reliant on others. For example, a doctor might encounter a situation that he or she hasn't been trained for, but will still be expected to make a decision that could save someone's life. You should try to avoid these phrases. In the speaking test, examiners don't like it when students use phrases like, "That's a very interesting question. It's my personal opinion that," "Personally, I would have to say that," "I am of the opinion that it depends on," "To be honest, I personally believe that." These phrases sound unnatural. It's obvious to the examiner that the student has memorized them, so what should you do instead? My advice, just answer the question directly, stop using memorized phrases, and just get straight to the point. Speaking Part 2, How to Talk for 2 minutes. Students often ask whether it's necessary to speak for the full 2 minutes in Part 2 of the speaking test. The instruction given is to speak for between 1 and 2 minutes, so it's not strictly necessary to speak for the full 2 minutes. However, the advice is that you should try to keep speaking until the examiner stops you. Here are some tips to help you keep talking. Tip 1. Go through the bullet points on your task card in order. Try to develop each point, even for the easy ones. For example, the first bullet point for the topic, describe a person, is who is it? Don't just say, I'm going to describe my father. Add more information such as your father's name, age, what he looks like, where he is now, how often you speak to him, and other information. Be sure to give examples and tell stories. So, I've just told you 12 tips that you can apply in the IELTS speaking test. If anyone has any other useful tips, please share by commenting under this video. Thank you, and see you later in other videos of Scots English Australia.